Welcome to Mr. Sleepy. Relax. Take a deep breath. And let's drift into tonight's story. The Rabbit and the Rainbow Bridge. Not so far from here, in a meadow where rain left shiny jewels on every blade of grass, Theo the bunny came out of his burrow. The air smelled fresh and sweet, and the wild flowers gently swayed, sparkling with tiny drops of water. Theo stretched his soft paws, twitched his whiskers, and stopped when he saw something amazing. A rainbow. It was bold and bright, arching across the sky like a promise from the heavens. Theo stared at the rainbow, his eyes wide with wonder. Then he thought about his best friend, Pippa, the little sparrow. Lately, Pippa had been feeling sad. She wasn't chirping happily like she usually did, and Theo's whiskers twitched with determination. He wanted to find something really special to make her smile again. That's it, Theo said, picking up his little woven basket. I'll hop across that rainbow and bring Pippa something amazing. Without a second thought, Theo bounded toward the rainbow. The cool, wet grass felt nice under his paws as he ran. Up close, the rainbow looked almost alive, glowing softly like it was calling him. Taking a deep breath, Theo placed one paw on the rainbow. It held him up, but felt slippery, like the smooth stones by the creek. Here we go, Theo whispered, taking his first hop. The color shimmered under his paws, warm and soft, almost like the rainbow was cheering him on. The rainbow was as magical as Theo imagined, but it wasn't easy to cross. It wobbled a little under his feet, making his basket tilt. Suddenly, everything spilled out. A carrot, a scarf, and a jar of honey. They rolled across the glowing rainbow. This is fine, totally fine, Theo muttered, though his ears drooped as he scrambled to grab his things. His tail flicked in frustration as he reached for the honey jar. Slipping and sliding on the rainbow, a butterfly with shiny golden wings fluttered nearby. Watching Theo with a teasing glint in its eyes. Having trouble? It asked, its voice light and musical. Theo's cheeks turned pink. Nope. I've got it under control, he said, though his paw accidentally knocked the carrot farther away. The butterfly giggled softly, its laugh tinkling like tiny bells, then flew away, still chuckling. Theo sighed, stuffing everything back into his basket. Flicking his ears with determination, he took a deep breath and kept hopping forward. Theo barely had time to catch his breath when he came across something blocking his path. A grumpy gray cloud. It floated in front of him, its edges shining silver, and its face wore a deep frown. "No one gets past me without answering my riddle," the cloud boomed, its voice rumbling like distant thunder. Theo stopped, his ears twitching nervously. "A riddle? All right, let's hear it," he said, trying to sound brave. The cloud swirled dramatically, enjoying the moment. Then it asked, "What shines brightest, even when it's shared?" Theo wrinkled his nose, thinking hard. He looked back at the rainbow and the sunlight shining through the clouds. Slowly, a smile spread across his face. "Light," Theo said confidently. "Light shines brightest when it's shared." The cloud froze, its stormy frown softening. "Correct," it grumbled, moving aside to clear the way. "But don't think the rest of your journey will be this easy." "Thank you," Theo called out, flicking his tail as he hopped forward. Behind him, the cloud let out a soft chuckle as it drifted away. Theo felt lighter now, but his journey wasn't over yet. Suddenly, a bright glowing star zipped down from the sky, its light so sparkly it made the rainbow's colors look dim. "Nice basket," the star said, zooming around Theo like a playful comet. Before Theo could say anything, the star swooped down and snatched the basket from his paws. "Hey," Theo shouted, hopping after the star. It floated just out of reach, twinkling smugly. "You can have it back," the star teased, "but only if you beat me in a dance-off." Theo groaned, his ears flopping. "A dance-off? Really?" The star twirled in the air, its light flashing brightly. "No basket, no crossing. Show me your moves." With a big sigh, Theo started hopping in place. His spins were wobbly, and his hops were uneven, but he gave it his all. There was something so honest about his effort that even the star couldn't help but giggle. "Fine, you win," the star said dramatically, dropping the basket back into Theo's paws. Theo held the basket tightly, his whiskers twitching in triumph. As he turned to hop away, he muttered under his breath, "She was a fairy." The star, hearing him, rolled her eyes so hard they nearly dimmed. "I can still hear you," she called, her voice half annoyed and half amused as she twirled back into the sky. As Theo hopped further along the rainbow, its colors seemed to shine even brighter. The glowing stripes almost pulsed under his paws, as though they were alive and cheering him onward. But then, without warning, a light drizzle began to fall. Tiny raindrops blurred the bright rainbow colors, turning them into soft, smudged pastels. The surface beneath Theo's feet became slick and slippery. Theo stopped, gripping his basket tightly with his little paws. He looked down at the swirling clouds far below. "What if I slip?" he whispered, his ears twitching nervously. The thought sent a shiver through him. Taking a deep breath, he placed one careful paw forward, then another, moving as slowly and steadily as he could. When the rain finally stopped, Theo paused to shake himself dry. Water droplets flew everywhere, and his fur puffed out like a big, fluffy dandelion. "Well, this is a look," Theo muttered, running a paw through his wild fur, trying to smooth it down. A bird flying overhead chirped teasingly, looking sharp. Theo couldn't help but laugh. For a moment, he forgot his worries. Puffing out his chest, he called back, "I woke up like this." And with a playful hop, he moved forward, feeling a bit more confident. Just as Theo started to think he was making good progress, the rainbow's colors suddenly began to fade. In front of him, the bright stripes disappeared entirely, leaving a wide, empty gap. The glowing colors turned into streams of liquid light, trickling down into the fluffy clouds below. Theo stopped at the edge, peering nervously into the gap. "What now?" he murmured, his ears drooping as doubt filled his heart. Out of nowhere, a cheerful puff of cloud floated toward him, bouncing gently, like it was riding the breeze. "Need a lift?" the cloud asked in a soft, friendly voice. Theo tilted his head, unsure. "Are you sure you can carry me?" he asked, holding his basket close. The cloud let out a warm chuckle. "I've carried heavier things than a bunny with a basket. Hop on." Carefully, Theo climbed onto the cloud. His paws sank into its soft, pillowy surface, and he held his breath as the cloud began to float across the gap. The cloud hummed a cheerful little tune, as it carried him, swaying gently with the wind. Midway across, the cloud suddenly paused. Theo's eyes widened and his ears stood straight up. "What's happening?" he squeaked. "Just teasing," the cloud said with a playful wink, before continuing on its way. When they reached the other side, Theo hopped off and let out a big sigh of relief. "Thanks for saving my tail," he said, giving the cloud a grateful smile. "Anytime," the cloud replied, bobbing happily as it drifted away. The rainbow stretched ahead, glowing softly as the light began to fade into evening. Theo adjusted his basket and brushed his paws along its edges. Determination flickered in his heart like a tiny flame. The air smelled fresh and sweet, with a hint of wildflowers after the rain. Step by careful step, Theo felt himself getting closer to the end of the rainbow and closer to finding the perfect gift for Pippa. The journey grew quiet. Earlier, there had been the hum of the rainbow's colors and the friendly chatter of passing clouds. Now the only sound was the soft tap of Theo's paws against the glowing path. He felt small under the wide, open sky, but it was a comforting kind of small, like he was part of something much bigger and more beautiful. Suddenly, a flicker of light caught Theo's eye. His ears perked up as he saw the end of the rainbow glowing ahead. It shimmered so brightly, it seemed to ripple through the air. Theo's heart raced with excitement, and he started hopping faster. The thought of Pippa's smile made his chest feel warm, and every hop felt lighter than the last. When Theo reached the end of the rainbow, he gasped. The treasures before him were unlike anything he'd ever seen. Tall crystals sparkled, reflecting the light in dazzling patterns that danced across the ground. Flowers with soft, glowing petals swayed gently, their light casting a dreamy glow. Tiny golden orbs floated through the air, giving off a warm, comforting light. Theo's paws itched to touch everything, but he hesitated. Which one would Pippa love most? He wondered out loud. His eyes darted from the shining crystals to the glowing flowers, then to the floating orbs. Each one was more amazing than the last, but Theo felt unsure. He picked up a crystal and turned it in his paws. It was smooth and cool, glittering like a tiny star. "This is beautiful," he whispered. But as he held it, he frowned. Is it enough? Setting the crystal back down, he moved to one of the glowing flowers. He gently touched its soft petals, feeling a warm tingle spread through him. But even with the flower's beauty, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. None of the treasures felt right. Theo's ears drooped as he sat down, disappointment weighing on him. What if I can't find anything perfect? He whispered, holding his basket tightly. As he sat there, his eyes wandered back to the rainbow. Its colors still pulsed gently, arching gracefully across the sky. A small spark of understanding lit up in Theo's mind. The journey itself, Theo said softly, his ears perking up. That's the real gift. A smile spread across his face as he stood up and adjusted his basket. The perfect gift for Pippa wasn't something he could carry. It was something they could share. With a new sense of purpose, Theo began hopping back along the rainbow, its colors seeming to guide him every step of the way. The trip back along the rainbow was easier than Theo had imagined. As he reached the familiar gap where the rainbow's colors had disappeared, the same cheerful puff of cloud floated up to greet him. It bobbed gently, glowing softly in the fading light. Back already? The cloud teased, its voice as warm and playful as before. Did you find what you were looking for? Theo chuckled, his heart lighter now than when he'd first set out. Not exactly, he said with a small smile. But I think I figured out what's really important. The cloud swayed in approval, its edges glowing brighter. That's what rainbows are for, you know, helping you see things clearly. Hop on, and I'll take you across. Without hesitation, Theo stepped onto the soft, fluffy surface. It felt as comforting as a warm blanket. As the cloud floated him over the gap, it hummed a little tune, pausing dramatically halfway, just like before. Theo laughed and gave it a gentle pat. Thanks for everything, Theo said as they reached the other side. Anytime, the cloud replied, drifting away with a cheerful hum as it disappeared into the twilight sky. When Theo reached the meadow, the soft glow of evening bathed everything in shades of gold and pink. The rainbow still stretched across the sky, but its colors were softer now, blending into the warm light of the setting sun. Pippa, his sparrow friend, sat quietly on a low branch, her feathers slightly fluffed as she stared out at the horizon. She seemed lost in thought, her usual spark of energy dimmed. "Pippa," Theo called, his voice filled with excitement as he bounded toward her. Pippa's wings fluttered in surprise, but she relaxed as soon as she saw her friend. "Theo," she chirped, hopping down from her perch. "You're back. Did you find something special?" Theo set down his basket, his eyes shining with warmth. "Close your eyes," he said softly. "I have something to show you. No peeking." Pippa hesitated, but then folded her wings neatly and closed her eyes. Theo gently guided her to face the rainbow, taking care to make sure the moment was just right. "Okay," Theo said, his voice full of anticipation. "You can open them now." Pippa opened her eyes, and her beak parted in a quiet gasp. The rainbow glowed softly in the fading light, its colors blending perfectly with the warm hues of the sunset. The entire meadow seemed to hold its breath, wrapping them in a magical stillness. "It's beautiful," Pippa whispered, her voice filled with awe. Theo sat beside her, his fur still a little messy from his journey. "I thought so too," he said, his voice gentle. "But this isn't just for you. It's for both of us." The rainbow reminded me of everything we've been through together. It's not just a pretty view. It's about sharing something special. Pippa turned to him, her small eyes shimmering with gratitude. "Thank you, Theo," she said softly. "I didn't realize how much I needed this." As the rainbow slowly faded into the twilight, its colors melting into the darkening horizon, the stars began to appear one by one. Their steady, gentle glow added a quiet magic to the scene, twinkling like tiny reminders of the day's journey. Theo leaned back, letting out a content sigh. His paw brushed lightly against Pippa's wing as the meadow grew still, wrapped in the peaceful sounds of the evening. The soft chirping of crickets and the rustling of the grass blended into a soothing melody. "Sometimes," Theo said, his voice barely louder than the breeze, "the best gifts aren't things you can hold. They're moments like this." Pippa nodded, her feathers ruffling gently in agreement. "Like this," she echoed, her voice as soft as the night. The meadow seemed to breathe with them, its quiet hum a perfect companion to the starry sky. Theo closed his eyes, his heart full of peace. The journey had been long and full of surprises, but it had brought him to this moment, a moment that was more precious than any treasure. Together, Theo and Pippa sat under the endless sky, the stars shining gently above. The night cradled them in its quiet embrace, wrapping them in a peace that felt as vast and beautiful as the rainbow itself. And as the world slowed around them, Theo and Pippa stayed there, their hearts light and their spirits full, sharing a gift that needed no words.